All right, welcome back again. And today we're going to transpose you to sunny California, where we get an opportunity to interact with an unusual man, an amazing, amazing career, Tony Alessandra. And Tony is acknowledged as one of the nation's most knowledgeable people in the field of developmental methods and instruments to measure behavior and assess skill levels. His company produces instruments utilized throughout the United States and other English-speaking countries. He is the author of 30, yes, I said 30 books, including The New Art of Managing People, Charisma, Relationship Strategies, The Optimism Advantage, and The Platinum Rule, among others. Now, Tony Alessandra is streetwise and Cali-smart. Dr. Alessandra earned an undergraduate degree in business from the University of Notre Dame. He earned his MBA at the University of Connecticut, and he studied for and received his doctorate from Georgia State University. Moreover, he put himself through college as an in-home cookware salesman, or as we used to call pots and pan guys. So he knows about the pots and pans in home selling. He is aware of all the things we go through in the industry that you are in. He knows in-home selling. And he also knows wise personnel selection and development, not only from an educated principle, but from personal experience as well. So Tony is that rare combination of being highly educated while possessing street smarts, my kind of guy. We are pleased that Tony's company, Assessment 24/7, is a strategic partner with Dave Yoho Associates. So Tony, let's start here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dave. What I'd like to do is to introduce you to the Core Competency Index assessment. Let's abbreviate that and call it the CCI assessment, and look at it as an additional selection and development tool for management level candidates to complement the currently highly successful DISC analysis profile and sales aptitude appraisal assessments that Dave Yoho Associates uses. Now, keep in mind that the CCI assessment does not, and I repeat, does not analyze behavior. What it does do is it analyzes competencies or skill sets. And one of the keys for the future in this new normal is that we need to develop the skill sets that are required in today's environment, especially at the managerial level. So let's take a look at what this core competency assessment, the CCI assessment, looks like. I will share my screen with you right now. And this is the Core Competency Index. And what it does is it measures 25 what we call core competencies. And as you can see from the table of contents, it's the ability to empower a person's temperament and disposition, most importantly, their communication skills, all the way down through creative thinking, how they resolve conflict and make decisions, their drive and persistence, how they involve others, which is crucial for a good sales manager, how they manage change and interruptions, their organizational skills, their planning, all the way down to visualizing the future. These are 25 key skill sets that are required in today's environment. So let's look at what happens when somebody takes this assessment. Once they take the assessment, a report is generated, and it tells them how they scored on this report, where their strengths are and where their potential struggles are. As you can see, We do this from most to least significant. So this person who took this assessment, we just call it sample report, but this is a real person who took this report. Their communication skills are incredible, which I'm really excited about because that's so important in today's environment and into the future. Their ability to empower others to do the job that they were hired to do, all the way down. All the greens are excellent. And let me mention that how we get the greens, the yellows, and the red scores, the top 20%, as you can see, here it is above 80%, are green. The middle 60% are yellow, which needs to be developed, or look at developing these better. As you can see, a couple of these were only, or 3 of them were only 1 point away from being green. So these are pretty good. But the red would be significant development issues. And those are the bottom 20%. So green, top 20, yellow, middle 60, red are the bottom 20. Now, as you look at this, and I'll get into this a little bit more, but as you look at this, here's some advice as you look at the report. So as you read it, or as the person who takes this assessment reads it, you have to read it with an open mind. You may think that you're better in some areas than others, but just read this with an open mind. Some of the low competencies might surprise you, but really take it to heart. Now, as you look at the reds and the yellows, it's not necessary for you or your managers to strengthen every single competency. Consider the competencies that are most important to this individual's career, to the job responsibilities, to your business. In fact, I tell people that when you look at this list of 25 competencies, starting with ability to empower all the way to visualizing the future, I would suggest to look at this and say, you know what, let me put a check mark. They're what I believe to be the top 5 to 7 that are so important in this job at this time in this company, and maybe put an X near the 5 to 7 competencies that you would say are the least important, not unimportant, but least important in this particular job at this time in this company. So we're going to look at the top 5 to 7, the bottom 5 to 7, and then work on the top 5 to 7 that may be in the yellow or red category. People who take this, you might want to discuss the results with somebody who will give you honest feedback. When I took this assessment, and I was actually surprised at how I scored, so I sat down with my wife and I said, look at these, is this really me? And she gave me honest to goodness feedback. If you have a manager, you might want to sit down with your manager and talk it over with your manager and create a specific action plan, a step-by-step plan for each of the areas that you want to improve. This assessment is a great assessment to help develop today's key management skills and management tools. So what I really love about this is that the rest of the pages from 5 to the end evaluate each of the 25 competencies. And what you get, I would look at this and look at the question breakdown. The question breakdown, if it's positive here, so you scored yourself higher than the norm. The norm is the average of everybody who scored on that particular question. So sometimes you have the positive scores. Every so often you'll have a negative variance where you scored yourself lower than the norm, the average of everybody else who has taken this assessment. What I will mention is that once you look at each of these 25 areas, look at the recommendations for overall improvement, and then the specific bullet points here, ways to strengthen or improve each and every one of these 25 competencies. This is where you as a manager, developing somebody else who is either a current manager or a potential manager, potential sales manager, this is where you can create your specific action plan. Maybe pick 2 or 3 of these areas, put a check mark near the areas in each of the competencies that somebody needs to improve. There is no question that this assessment, the CCI assessment, is so incredibly needed to develop the managerial skill sets that are so important in today's new normal, in today's environment. Take this seriously, look through it, do a good job in developing either candidates or current employees who are you looking at to develop as a sales manager. I have to tell you, over the years, and I've been doing this for 44 years, actually 46 years, where I've been looking at sales and sales managers. And one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of companies, they take typically their best salesperson and they, quote, reward them to be the sales manager. And the skill sets that are needed for a great superstar salesperson may not be the same skill sets that are needed for a great sales manager. So it's important to make sure that we are developing the skill sets that are needed for sales management. So that is the Core Competency Index assessment, a great complement to the 2 assessments that are already being used by Dave Yoho Associates. So Dave, back to you.
Tony, you had a page that we discussed earlier where you show these core competencies again, and you show at the bottom the red areas. Can you bring that up a second?
Absolutely. So let's bring that back up.
Because it's all too easy to assess the word success or failure to an individual attempting to fulfill a job where they need some nurturing, they need some developmental skill in prison. So at the bottom here, this would be a pretty good one with only 2 reds at the bottom. And but in the lower area of this, the lower half of this, you have diminishing skills. How do you advise people to address the manager they're trying to train in those areas?
Well, I would certainly look at this, and I'd look at anything initially under 50%. So setting goals, creative thinking, involving others, etc. And I would say, okay, are these the skills that I checked off on that previous page? This page, remember, I was asked, not the previous page, the table of contents, where I said, put a check mark near 5 to 7 of the most important competencies and an X near the 5 to 7 least important. And I want to see if those in the bottom half of these scores are significant skills. And I want to go to those pages, the pages that list every single one of these, and tell them to work on ways to strengthen or improve each and every one of those competencies, especially, no question about it, especially the reds. Whether they are important or not, the reds are crucial. So let's look at that first and then say, okay, is creative thinking important in this job? As a sales manager, setting goals and standards, I would say that's important. So let's work on that. So that's what I would do, Dave.
All right. Well, the other thing, you address sales management all the time. You address big groups of sales managers who are, some are VP sales of a company that's got 200 field sales managers. And when you look at those people, they've already made the mistakes in the selection process. And this is not a condemnation of that. This is not a pass, fail kind of thing. This is an assessment tool which enables people to see the kind of person that you thought was so great having trouble in certain areas, and that's your job, to find out about it. Because good sales management really is built over a period of time. The longer he's a sales manager, he or she, and they're going to meet some great ones on this program, the more important it is to nurture what you already have. Tony, now you're out in California, and I want to tell you what a great way to start the day to you today, to be on this interview with you. It is a pleasure to work with you and hear your very, very credible information. Thank you again, Dr. Tony Alessandra.
Dave, you call, I'm there.